Today we're into Standard to play a 5-color elf deck that's looking to harness the power of Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. So here is our 5-color Voja elf deck, and this deck actually came about because of MagicCon Chicago. So at MagicCon Chicago, I was playing a commander game, and I played against Voja for the first time ever, and absolutely just got crushed by this card. It's so incredibly strong, and that got me thinking, I should probably see if I can make this card work in Standard. So Voja, it's a 5-mana 5/5 Naya legendary wolf. It has Vigilance, Trample, and most importantly, Ward 3. And then when it attacks, you put X +1/+1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. So we're an elf deck, so how this usually works in our deck is we attack with Voja, and we're going to get a bunch of counters on all of our stuff, and then usually draw a card because of Voja being a wolf. But the thing that gives Voja a chance, I think, to work in Standard is that Ward 3. So the goal of our deck is to turbo out Voja with the help of some elves that make extra mana, Llanowar Loam Speaker, Gallagher Reader, Nissa Resurgent Animus, because we really want to get Voja down by turn 4. If we can get Voja down by turn 4, our opponent shouldn't be able to kill it, because let's say they want to go for the throat hit, they're going to need 2 mana for the go for the throw, and then 3 more mana for the ward, which means if we get Voja down quick enough, we're more or less likely or almost guaranteed to be able to get in at least one attack with Voja, and that's really all we need. A single attack with Voja in a deck full of elves is usually giving our creatures like +3/+3, +4/+4, and drawing us an extra card, which pretty much just wins us the game. So turbo out Voja. We also have Vanifar Evolved Enigma, which happens to be an elf. This gives us sneaky Voja lines where we can like use Vanifar to cloak a Voja, let it lose Summoning Sickness, and after it loses Summoning Sickness, flip it up for 5 mana, get into that attack right away, get the trigger, win the game. We also have Roaming Throne, which is probably my favorite non-Voja card in the deck. So Roaming Throne, there's 2 things we can do with it. We can put it on elves and just take advantage of some of our elves ETB triggers. We can also put it on Wolf for Voja, so then we double trigger Voja. We'll have 2 wolves now because Roaming Throne becomes a wolf, so we'll draw 4 cards at least with a Voja attack and put a bunch of counters depending on how many elves we have. We also have a bit of removal. Werefox Bodyguard gives us some removal along with Get Lost, and then we just got a bunch of other elves. Brazen Upstart, pretty good. If it dies, it draws us a creature. Glissa, we've seen this one in other decks in Standard. Fleetfoot Dancer, actually super strong unless there's a Shieldred on the battlefield. It lines up really bad with Shieldred because it's a 4/4, Shieldred's a 4/5, but as long as there's not a Shieldred, a 4-mana 4/4 Trample Haste Lifelinker is actually a pretty good creature. And then 1 Toilsome Midnight Light, which isn't that great, but it is an elf that makes a wolf, so it is good with Voja, and the wolf it makes is Voja, so it's a flavor win at a minimum. Mana base, the big deal here is Cavern of Souls Secluded Courtyard. This is how we can be kind of a Naya elves deck and still be casting Glissas and Vanifars and being really a 5-color elf deck. In the sideboard, we get a bunch of removal for aggro, some protection, Invasion of Gabakon for control, and licensors for graveyard decks, and that is 5-color Voja elves for Standard. That's our Against the Odds deck for today, so let's jump into some games and see if one of the scariest new commanders from Murders at Karlov Manor is actually good enough to get some wins in Standard. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some Magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Against the Odds time, we are playing some 5-color Voja elves in Standard, and we're gonna keep this. We don't have a Voja, but we do have elves. many elves. So this deck, I went to MagicCon Chicago and I played against a commander deck where someone had Voja, and my god, is that card ridiculous. And that made me think, if this card is so strong in commander, maybe it can actually work in Standard. It was intriguing enough that I at least wanted to give it a try. Opponent looks like Esper mid-range. So if they take Fleetfoot Dancer, we can, okay. Well, I guess we're on the Fleetfoot Dancer plan then. Fleetfoot Dancer's really good, unless there's a Shieldred, then it's less good. So the idea of this deck's basically turbo into Voja. Because of Ward 3, if we can get Voja down early, it's essentially unkillable, and it really only takes 1 or 2 Voja turns to win the game. I mean, we're also playing 5-color green-based elves in standard, so definitely against odds, that's for sure. I mean, they probably have removal for Fleetfoot Dancer. They are Esper. It appears like they're not there. You better not reset again, clock, I swear. All right, opponent passes. Well, we're gonna get in with the Fleetfoot Dancer. We're going to attempt to. Well, this might be the freebie if our opponent just disconnected. My guess when this happens is it's probably someone trying to play on mobile and just like arena crashing. This might, oh, opponent appears to have returned. Well, we'll play a Llanowar Loam Speaker. And also a Llanowar Loam Speaker. Oh, Voja would be so nice here. Alright, opponent's going to kill a Loam Speaker, sure. And Virtue of Loyalty, yup. I mean, that's going to be a problem long term, although if we can find Voja, it does outscale it. Aw, alright, opponent's going to take our Tolsimir. We kind of did want the Tolsimir. It's only a one of, but the ability to control what our opponent blocks is actually pretty nice. It's almost like removal. Speaking of removal, we could use an actual removal spell. Opponent gonna bat us. Down to 27. We draw a land that's not especially helpful. Should we be firing up lands? That might be too greedy. Let's play the land. Let's play Brazen Upstart. We can pay for No More Lies. Oh, they don't even have black mana up? You know what? I think we're actually going to do this. This might be greedy, but we do know that our opponent has this Virtue coming, so we kind of need to get in some damages. All right. Well, apparently they have two Virtues coming. They're going to double block the Fleetfoot Dancer. Dropped at 8. Still got some bats. Our land lives. Oh, here comes Virtue, though. All right, so we really need to draw Voja / removal. Actually, can we force a chump? We can. Or force a block. This might actually work. So we get to Loam Speaker, the Beseju. Loam Speaker, the Razor Verge Thicket. Yeah, this gives us 10 power. So our opponent has to block. They're probably going to be tempted to double block. And this means we get lost one of the bats. Kill both of them and get both back of our cards. An opponent, whoo, okay. Well, we didn't find Voja, but we did just beat one of the best decks in standard. That was pretty good. I mean, another get lost is probably good. I don't know about Gabakhan, especially on the draw. Could bring in just like, Braid or like a Lantern Flare, just a little more removal. I think we can go down probably the Vanifar. We can trim like one Roaming Throne, maybe one Nissa. Let's go one Lantern Flare. A Braid is weird. Is it worth it? The problem with the Braid is it doesn't get Preacher or Rafine or Sheoldred or I guess pretty much anything. You know what? Let's just keep the Roaming Throne. That's fine. Run it like that. Just a touch more removal. Well, game one went pretty well, actually. Oh, no Voja, though. No Voja. Voja's where the deck gets really sweet. That just makes it so explosive. My green screen's a little janky. Whoa. All right. Better, I think. Well, we're not going to keep this. That's just not enough lands. All right, well, this will keep. Probably put the Roaming Throne to the bottom. Cavern is the card that kind of makes all this work. Ooh, there's a Voja if we get to it. Cavern, the uncounterability is nice. That's really helpful in some matchups. Also, between Cavern and Secluded Courtyard, it just lets us play like all 5 colors of Elves and still cast our stuff. We're like Naya base, but then Cavern and Secluded Courtyard. We can play Vanifar, we can play Glissa. Opponent, very Mastermind. And a Deep Cavern Bat. Well, let's see what our opponent goes with. My guess would be, well, I don't even know. We have 3 3-drops. So we still get to play something good next turn, regardless. All right, they go with the removal spell. That makes sense. Opponent, gonna get in, hit us, down to 18. We draw another Werefox Bodyguard. Well, play this on Elf. Do we just run out the Glissa? Yeah, I think we do. Glissa's pretty good here. Play the Glissa, make a Treasure. Yeah, I think we're okay with this. If our opponent wants to trade their bat and give us back our Werefox, I think it's worth it. Ooh, hits us down to 15. Okay, passes. Are we slamming Voja? The only problem is they can counter it here. Maybe we don't. If our opponent taps out, we're slamming Voja. Oh, okay. Sure, that's fine. That is fine because we have other more important plans. We're gonna play this on Wolf. here comes Voja. And opponent, see, this is the power of Ward 3, right? Our opponent just cannot deal with this. I guess, yeah, they can't. They could have Shoulder Edict when we say Gallagreater, and you're going to see the power of Voja, assuming your opponent doesn't just scoop to the power of Voja, which is kind of insane. I mean, we're benefiting from the fact that our opponents miss land drops, but even if they had hit their land drops, Ward 3 is a big number. That means your Go for the Throat costs 5. So if we can ramp out Voja a turn early, it's pretty much unkillable for a turn. And even if our opponent does kill it, it's pretty much a time walk, right? They have to well, not quite, because they can still attack with their creatures, but essentially it's going to use our opponent's entire turn to kill it. So I think Voja, it might be a bit of a sleeper. Like, that Ward 3 number really, really, really matters on Voja, like a ton. Opponent pet. Oh my god, we draw land. Okay, so play Beseiju. Green, white, red. Let's play the Brazen Upstart, uncounterably. And make a tap treasure. And now we get to have a little fun. Go to combat. Attack with both. Voja triggers 2 elves. We draw a card. We get 2 counters on everything. Voja's now 7 power. Opponent down to 11. That should just be game, right? Opponent, Fairy Mastermind. Well, we will run out of Werefox Bodyguard to snipe the Deep Cavern Bat and gain a couple life. And opponent, yeah, cannot beat the Voja. I mean, it's just like Commander, right? Like, the ward number's high. You need a sweeper to get rid of it. Elves are really good at ramping and going wide, and Voja just straight up ends the game. I mean, that was not even like a ridiculous Voja. That was Voja with 2 elves. And even that, it's just like, what are you going to do? You just can't kill it. Like, Ward 3 is not quite hexproof, but it's not that far away from hexproof. 5-color elves. Sweet, sweet. Against the odds time, we are Voja-ing in standard, playing some 5-color Voja elves, mono red. All right, let's see how this goes. Well, Cavern on elf and Gallagreater. Gallagreater, we actually have a decent hand for mono red. Gallagreater can gain life. Fleetfoot Dancer can gain a lot of life. All right, if our opponent's got to spend lightning strikes on Gallagreaters, we're kind of okay with that. Well, Gallagreater part 2. Cavern on elf. We do kind of want a real source of white mana at some point for this Get Lost. Opponent Mountain. Whew, all right. Gallagreaters have served their purpose. We will accept that. Opponent. Saga time hits us. 16. Another Gallagreater. Well, Secluded Courtyard, also on elf. Sand might have a hard time casting Voja, but Fleetfoot Dancer is pretty sweet. Hasty 4/4 lifelinker, back up to 20. I do want a white source. I would accept a cheap creature to play with this Gallagreater to make a treasure. Opponent rolling up the Phoenix chick, hits us down to 15. Well, we're kind of seeing the downside of our mana base. Trying to block is so risky. Oh, I wish we had a white source. Life would be so much better. So we gain 4, but then we take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, probably at least 8. Well, play the Gallagreater. Play the Carpusin Forest. And yeah, I mean, I think we got to keep attacking. Oh, yeah. Well, this is the drawback of being 5 colors, right? We're playing 4 caverns and 4 secluded courtyards, and sometimes we draw a lot of them, and our mana is really good for playing elves, but not very good for playing Get Lost. I mean, we don't have many non-elves in our deck. It's pretty much the Get Lost and then a few sideboard cards. Nissa. Well, okay, play the Nissa. Like, if they kill this Fleetfoot Dancer, we dead no matter what. Let's say they have Witch Stalker's Frenzy or whatever. They kill this. This is 3 power. We chump. We block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're going to make the treasure. And I think we got to stay on D. We're in a bad spot here. If the Fleetfoot Dancer sticks, we're kind of okay. Because next turn we can finally Get Lost. If we could have cast this Get Lost earlier, I think we'd be fine this game, but... And now we had to, I would have liked to gain life, but instead we had to make the treasure. Shivan Devastator, as a 3/3, gets in with the Flyers. We draw Voja, which is a little late to the party. Yeah, I think we're just dead now. Ugh. Well, for all the power we get for playing Caverns and Secluded Courtyards, it's good to see the drawback. So Lantern Flare is our big sideboard tech. Into the Fire is also good. We could bring in a Braids. What are we going down? So Vanifar down, Roaming Throne down. We can go down to Nissa. We can bring in a Braid. All right, well, the Lantern Flares are really good. Those are very helpful. Ooh. Oh, that was looking like a good one too, if it wasn't for the fact that we didn't find any real white mana. But like I said, that's the cost, right? That's what we signed up for when we put 8 Caverns in our deck. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, we're gonna do it again. For some reason, we're very good at drawing all of our Caverns. Well, Cavern on Elf. We would like a white/red source. Opponent has the Saga. Hey, that's a real land. All right, land on Elf. And Llanowar Loam Speaker. I mean, if we just get to slam this Fleetfoot Dancer next turn and gain 4, it's a pretty nice swing. All right, opponent's gonna kill the Loam Speaker. That does slow us down a little bit. Well, play the land, play the Brazen Upstart. A little bit awkward against this Flip Saga, since it's not gonna get its death trigger, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Opponent, land in. Charming Scoundrel. Gonna get the Wicked roll and go attacking. I think we go no blocks for now. Oh! All right. Monstrous Rage. Brazen Upstart, number 2. Oh, now we're just missing lands? That's also not great. Hit you to 16. Swift Spear. Attacks with everything. Well, block and also block. Do you really have another one? Oh my goodness. So... Oh, no way! Oh! What are we supposed to do about that? The answer is nothing. I mean, well, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, if your opponent draws triple Monstrous Rage, and there's not much we can do about that. All right. Against the odds time, we are playing some 5-color Voja Elves in Standard, and we got a lot of Fleetfoot Dancers. That much is for certain. It would be sweet if this Loam Speaker lived. If we can start casting Fleetfoot Dancers on turn 3, that might be enough. That's a bit of damage. Opponent, all right, has the removal. Well, play the land, play the Brazen Upstart. So what is this? Some sort of Orzhov control deck, apparently. Apparently. All right, opponent, more Legion of Ashes. I really like that card. Well, land on Elf and Fleetfoot Dancer. Opponent, take Numa and Wandering Emperor to deal with the Fleetfoot Dancer. Yup. Well, Fleetfoot Dancer. Secluded Courtyard. I think we go Wolf this time. Pass the turn. A Voja would be sweet. Opponent finds a Curtain. I imagine they're going to take the Get Lost, or else it just kills the... Well, I don't know. Maybe they have to take the Fleetfoot Dancer. Because that's another 4 going to your face. Well, they take the Get Lost. Sure. I mean, I guess we'll see. They could have a Wrath. That's a thing. But we're just going to play a Fleetfoot Dancer and H ya. Fleetfoot Dancer is actually a really good card. It just lines up poorly with Sheoldred in specific. If Sheoldred was a 4/4, I think Fleetfoot Dancer could have been a standard staple. Opponent, Elspeth, makes a soldier. Tolsimir. So what does this do? Can give a thing flying, blah, 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 blah. Reanimate, nothing. Yeah, opponent double blocks. Will kill the eye. Hit you to 6. Run out of Tolsimir. Get a This isn't the Voja we want, but it is a Voja. We're kind of Voja tribal, really. Although this Tolsimir is just a one of. Opponent kills our Voja. Boo. Boo and hiss at you. I mean, we're still in pretty good shape. I mean, we're at 44. We are at 44, and our opponent has a Elspeth and a soldier. Oh, those Fleetfoot Dancers did a bit of work life gain wise, didn't they? Found it. Legend rules themselves with take Numa. Ultimating Elspeth doesn't do. Wow. Okay, you have a 3/3 now. You did it. All right, Fleetfoot Dancer, number 4. Sometimes you just draw every Fleetfoot Dancer. Opponent can fire up their land to chump, but this is still pretty bad for them. Opponent blocks. Drops to 2. We go up to 55. Apparently we're a life gain deck now. Opponent has a Sunfall. That's pretty obnoxious. Well, I guess the game isn't literally over yet. Let's play Gala Greeter. And Brazen Upstart. I think we make a treasure this turn. Opponent makes a spirit. So our opponent's like white-black planeswalkers. Interesting. All right, grows their dork. Turns on their land. Wow, we are getting frisky. Well, we will play a Roaming Throne. Make a treasure. Put a counter on the Gala Greeter. Attack the Kaya. Okay, this is fine. It trades, but we get to draw with Brazen Upstart twice. So we'll take a Roaming Throne. Voja? It is weak to Sunfall. We could take the Werefox Bodyguard. Yeah, I think we have to, as much as that pains me. Land on Elf. Land a Warloam Speaker. Gain a couple life. I mean, so the thinking here is we can use the Werefox to clear the blockers and then either kill our opponent or kill the planeswalkers. The problem with going Voja is they have this Kaya and they have tokens, so they can... Oh, all right, Cash is in the... I don't know what this Kaya is doing. I guess they can turn a token into a Concealing Curtain, but they can't flip it because there's no backside, right? Or does it actually... Well, I guess we'll see. Does that work now? All right, so opponent gets rid of the Roaming Throne. Goes attacking.
That's why so many.
Treacherous Greed to draw some cards. Opponent plays a land. We will play a Roaming Throne on Elf. We will grow the Gala Greeter, make a tap treasure. Turn our land into a 3/3. Kill Kaya, hit our opponent. So now at least we have the Werefox Bodyguard if our opponent finds a sweeper. We can Werefox to save 2 things. Interesting. Now I wish we could find the Voja. All right, opponent plays Atomic. Whenever an opponent attacks with a creature, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you or planeswalkers you control, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw a card. Ooh, Vanifar. Oh, play the Vanifar. Happens to be an elf, ooze wizard. So counter on Gala Greeter, tap treasure token, turn on a land. So our land's actually a colorless creature, so we're just going to counters. So opponent gets to draw, trigger their Atomic, we lose 3. Again, Joe the Gala Greeter. Hey, might as well chump the big one. So opponent's down to 6 past the turn. Oh, opponent really needs, like, they need a sweeper, and I'm not sure a sweeper wins. Concealing Curtains. They could go land Depopulate. I think we gotta let it go. This does turn on a Wrath, potentially. Oh, just Atomic, okay. So we still don't quite have lethal. Go to combat. Counters and counters. So opponent's got to block both of them. Our opponent's drawn live to another Sunfall, though, because they got rid of the Werefox. Okay, Elspeth, that's fine. It's going to be hard for our opponent to block their way through this. Outrageous Robbery, X1, hits, who knows. Makes a lifelink. Oh, okay. Whew. Boy, those Sunfall matchups are scary. Well, we're bringing Invasion of Gabakhan. We're bringing in Get Lost, because that can kill a Planeswalker. We'll go down. Vanifar with Roaming Throne is actually pretty sweet that game. What are we going down? Maybe like 1 Nissa, 1 Roaming Throne, one Vanifar, and Tolsimir's at its best in creature matchups. It can be pretty good against creature decks, where you get 2 bodies, and you get to kind of get removal out of it with the, like, attack with a wolf, make something block thing. Not as good against Super Friends, I don't think. And this is weird in this deck. It's another way we can ramp into Voja turn earlier, but we don't ever trigger the draw in elf mode. We just don't have a way to have multiple lands come into play. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep it. Voja actually would have been good. I think it was correct not to take it because we'd already seen a Sunfall, but Voja, oh boy, opponent's at 3. Oh dear, opponent. Oh, opponent. Yeah, sorry. Well, I was thinking of grabbing a leg, but we'll go easy on our opponent. Gala Greeter, go. Well, this might be a freebie. 3 cards is not a lot. Secluded Courtyard on Elf and Brazen Upstart. And make a treasure, and Voja. Opponent's deck looks interesting. Tomic, it's funny, we played Melik. We're now playing Voja. Ooh, that's actually good for our opponent. Okay, so I think we just Invasion of Gabakhan, flip it. Take the Outrageous Robbery. Flip Gabakhan, hit ya. Play the Gabakhan. Play the land, play the Loam Speaker. I mean, this flip Gabakhan's gonna be kinda huge. Because we can use that to fizzle this Karn Silex once I go for it. They probably have to take Fleetfoot Dancer. Yeah, 3 cards is tough. It is tough to win on a multi 3. Get lost. Not super relevant. We'll just smash with everything. Hit ya. We're definitely not playing any more cards at this point. Treacherous Greed is interesting. It's hard to make it work, but if you can make it work. Wow, Treacherous Greed X0. Yeah. Well, opponent's deck was spicy. It's cool to see Tomic being a thing. Tomic's still on my list. So there were 3 pre-release cards, pre-release promos from Urza Karlov Manor. We played Melik in the Melik Fling deck. Now we're playing Voja in 5-color Voja Elves. The one we haven't played yet is Tomic. So yeah, we'll have to play Tomic at some point. Although I don't know about this Treacherous Greed plan. Treacherous Greed, if you could consistently turn it on, I think it's very strong. But having to sack a creature that dealt damage this turn, that's a big ask. I'm not sure how our opponent's deck is consistently going to be able to do that. So I think that's the challenge. Like, lots of power, but also a big challenge to have it do anything at all. But, well, no Voja, but good win. 5-color Voja Elves. Well, we're mulliganing the 1-lander. All right, we're going to keep this 2-lander. We got the Voja. Can we get it down is the question. So what are we putting at the bottom? It's got to be one of the 4-drops, I think. Yeah, I guess just Vanifar. In theory, Vanifar can cloak the Voja and then we can flip it up, but I don't know if that's actually worth it. The upside of it is it gives us a Voja that is not summoning sick. I mean, we're going to be able to cast the Vanifar. Is it better than the Roaming Throne? You know what? Let's go for it. Let's go for Voja Surprise. No one expects your face down creature to be a very game-ending Voja. I mean, the real question is going to be, does Loam Speaker live and do we draw lands? If the answer to both those questions is yes, this hand can kind of pop off. Well, Secluded Courtyard on Elf. Run out the Loam Speaker. Live, please. Pound it. Warden of the Inner Sky. All right, so the Loam Speaker might live. Drawing a land would be nice. Voldarian Epica. And can tap the stuff to scry. Well, let's see what we draw. Opponent taps, scries to the top. It is a land. Whew, okay, so now things are very interesting. I'm actually tempted to just play the Vanifar and cloak the Voja. And then if we draw land next turn, we can, yeah, we gotta go for it. It's just so high upside. All right, play the Vanifar, go to combat. We will cloak the Voja. And now if we draw land, we flip it up and hopefully just win the game next turn. Our opponent shouldn't be able to kill it because of the ward. They could pop off. That is possible. Like Gleeful Demolition, Knight, blah, 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 Boros stuff. If we can get one more land, we kind of have the Vanifar. Oh no, they are doing it. Gleeful Demolition. Volnarian Epicure. Well, okay. At least they don't have the knight. At least they don't have the knight. Well, now things are interesting. If we draw land here, it's really sweet. If we don't draw land here, then I guess we werefox the warden. Oh, that's awkward. All right, well, play the tap land, pass the turn. Do we want to cloak the Nissa? It's either that or we put a counter on the Voja. Yeah, I think we cloak it. Cloak the Nissa. Do we even bother to attack here? I think no. I think we just run out the werefox. Get rid of the warden. Pass the turn. Well, this is it. This is it. Opponent, land, warden, frontliner, gleeful demolition. All right, opponent's got a lot of stuff, but we do have a Voja that is about to flip up. So the warden gets huge. Our team's about to get super huge. Scry, scry, scries. We draw Brazen Upstart. Well, surprise. It's a Voja. The Brazen Upstart. Yeah, let's do a little attacking. Our team about to get a little bigger. Opponent's got to block with the warden into the inner sky, and that was a pretty good Voja. I mean, we could still die here. If they find a Bushwhacker effect, Imodane's Recruiter, then we still just die, I think, but opponent jumps the Vanifar. Drops to 2. No bushwhacking. No bush. Ah! So now we're dead. I mean, block 2, 12. Yeah. No! Opponent had exactly one card that mattered, and they drew the one card that mattered. Well, we did our thing, and Voja popped off. Unfortunately, our opponent found the Imodane's Recruiter, sadly. Yeah, that was rough. That was super rough. Well, we bring a little bit more removal. Cry about our opponent's top decks. Well, Vanifar, you did your thing last game. It wasn't enough, so you're going out right on like that. Well, you can see the power of Voja. The problem is our opponent just had the Boros draw, doing the Boros thing. Our opponent just barely survived, too. Well, this hand's definitely going to need a payoff. We will see. Tap land go. Opponent's salty roping after they just top deck the win. Weird time for that, but okay. Really? Okay. Well, our opponent has returned. Well, we'll play the Loam Speaker, pass the turn. Opponent plays a mountain. Oh my god, it's a Lightning Helix. Cavern on Elf. And I think we just pass here. I think we just pass in Werefox. Opponent, tap land. Werefox Bodyguard as an Ambush Viper. We're not going to exile the Inspector. We're just going to try to block it. It is worth keeping bodies off the battlefield against Boros if we can. Wow, all right. Well, if opponent's going to spend all their burn on relatively useless creatures, we're cool with that. We'll get on a Fleetfoot Dancer. Get in for 4, gain 4. Could still use the Voja. Could still really use the Voja. You know our opponent's going to do their popping off thing at some point. Case of the Gateway Express. And a Lightning Helix. Opponent gets in for 1. We draw nothing. Well, Gala Greeter. And Llanowar Loam Speaker. Put a counter on Gala Greeter. And Karpuzan Forest. Go. All right, well, let's see if we can draw Voja. Let's see if we can draw it. Resolute Reinforcements. And another case of the Gateway Express. Opponent's playing Boros Control over there. Oh, come on, deck. Come on, deck. Now we lose. Opponent's going to get to salve both of these cases, and that's going to make their creatures pretty big. Oh, and they draw a Knight, too? Oh, magic gods. Magic gods. Plays a frontliner, plays a land. We draw Glissa. That's something at least. Not really something, but it's better than nothing. Our opponents theoretically use most of their removal. They've cast 5 removal spells, which is kind of an absurd number for the deck they're playing that can't really afford to play that many non-creatures. Opponent fires up their Bivouac. puts a counter on a dork. Well, kill you, kill you. They get to flip these cases, though. Another inspector. Yep. We draw even more lands. Yeah, that just does it. Whew. Well, that was a lot of lands. That was a lot of lands. Against odds time, we are playing some mulliganing, some 5-color Voja Elves. Ooh, okay. This hand's actually kind of good. I mean, we can ramp into Voja, which is kind of all our deck wants to do. Well, let's see what our opponent has. If they can kill our mana dorks, it gets worse, but assuming our mana dorks live, I mean, turn what? Well, I guess it's turn 4 Voja, but still, that's fast enough, especially on the play, that our opponent shouldn't be able to kill it, and then Voja just kills them. Opponent starts on the top land. Well, Loom Speaker. Goo. Sea Chrome Ghost. And passes. Well, let's cavern on Elf. This is a little greedy. There could be an argument for putting it on Wolf for Voja, but our opponent could actually have counters. We'll see. In theory, we're pressuring enough, though, that maybe they can't, especially with the cavern out. It's going to be hard to sit on a counter here. Like, if our opponent can play a creature, they're going to play it, I think. If we get to slam Voja here, we're in really good shape this game. This is where Voja can really pop off. The ward is just so good. Thinking. Denick. Okay, that is perfectly fine. Ooh, all right, that's also fine. We have the Nissa, so we still get to get down Voja. So play the land, make a red, and get down Voja. Get in with Nissa. I'm pretty sure Voja is literally unkillable here. Because of Ward 3, our opponent only has 3 mana. So even if they go land, they need a 1-mana removal spell, which I don't think exists. So really, Voja, you pretty much need at least 5 mana to kill it. And if you don't kill it, we're gonna see, this is not even like an absurd Voja. We only have 1 elf at the moment, maybe 2 with the Werefox, but even that, Voja's wild. Oh, the card's so good. I gotta say, the pre-release promos for Murders of Karlov Manor were a lot stronger than I expected. Melik's sweet. We already did Melik. Voja, after getting absolutely wrecked by it in a commander game, it can do some really cool things. And then I guess we gotta play Tomic someday. What do you got if opponent passes? The question is, do we just run out this Werefox? I think the answer is no. I think we just attack. 1 counter, 1 card. We draw Glissa. Okay. Opponent. Ooh, down to 6. All right. Well, now we're in a really good spot. Let's say our opponent goes land. How do we lose from here? I think we just pass. If our opponent goes land Sunfall, we can Werefox the Voja. All right, they're gonna bounce the Nissa. I mean, I don't think this, well, we'll see. We'll see what our opponent has. This is a pretty good sign they don't have a Sunfall, though, because you're not going to bounce the Nissa if you got Sunfall. Opponent needs something. I mean, Voja just wins by itself here, really. Do we even need to flash anything in? We can flash in the Werefox. We could also just get lost. Yeah, let's just get lost. Voja should still be unkillable because of the ward. All right. Well, we untap. We draw more Vojas. And I guess we just attack with the Voja. I don't know how our opponent stops this. So I guess they could have a chump blocker. They could flash in like a Fairy Mastermind, but then we Werefox it. Voja gets in. We draw a card. Opponent, Wandering Emperor. Voja. Not only does it have Ward 3, also Vigilant, so pretty good against Wandering Emperor. Yeah, there's a Wandering Emperor, but we'll just Werefox the token, and that looks like 5-color Elves. Taking down Esper. Maybe the top deck in Standard at the moment. That is Voja power. That is the power of Voja. All right, what do we want against this deck? That's the real question. These pre-release promos, seriously. I know WotC, like, I wonder, what is the price of Voja? I'm gonna have to look up the price. I'm starting to wonder, I've seen Commander players actually like complaining about Voja. This is one of those rare decks. Yeah, it's running like that. I'm gonna look up Voja price. Voja, currently $14. This is one of those decks that I built because of Commander. I mentioned this earlier, I think, but I played against someone at MagicCon Chicago playing Voja, and it looked incredibly powerful. I was like, wait, maybe this card can work in standard. Ward 3, that number is pretty big. That is a big enough ward number that it's at least worth trying. It kind of works, right? We do cool things sometimes. Sand looks fine. We need a cavern effect for Glissa, but we'll find it eventually. I like the double get loss. Well, there's our cavern. There's our cavern effect. Ask and you shall receive. I guess we just play a fast land. Yeah, let's play Razorbird's Thicket, go. Land and passes. Well, let's cavern on Elf and Llanowar Loam Speaker. Go. And Ravine. Ooh. Well, now this is kind of interesting. Speaking of ward, I think we just got to kill the Ravine. This does mean we only get to do one thing since we got to pay the ward. Otherwise, we could also get down the Gabakon. Yeah, that's fine. We don't really want the Ravine to start snowballing. Very snowbally card, that Ravine. Opponent plays a land. Wedding announcement. Well, Glissa's pretty good against that. Well, let's play it safe. Let's play it safe. Oh, he could just slam. Wow, do we just slam? They're gonna have 5 mana, so they could kill it. They could Sunfall. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do this the right way. Invasion of Gabakon. Do the hand check. No more lies. Wandering Emperor. Well, we'll take the Wandering Emperor. Play the Karpusin Forest and Glissa. Go. So No More Lies could theoretically get Voja. I'm actually surprised it's still in our opponent's deck. They saw Cavern in game 1. I guess they saw Voja. Well, let's see what our opponent does. So we'd like to get down the Voja, but we do need to play around the No More Lies. Our opponent needs to not get hit by Glissa or we start blowing up their stuff. They probably also need to keep us from flipping this Gabakon. Opponent, gonna crack a map. Sure. Into a land. Should we have taken No More Lies? No, I think this was right. We could have taken No More Lies to make sure we get down Voja, but then Wandering Emperor, ooh. I mean, that changes things too. So now our, Fleetfoot Dancer. So now our new plan, we gotta play around this Gix's command. So if we run out Voja, it's gonna get Gix's commanded or it's gonna get countered. I guess we can Fleetfoot Dancer, right? We can Fleetfoot Dancer. Leave up. Yeah, put the land on Elf. We can leave up the get lost for the wedding announcement. I guess it has to double chump probably. So we need to chump the Fleetfoot with the 2/2 so we don't flip Gabakon, and then chump the Glissa to not lose wedding announcement. Or I guess Glissa could also flip Gabakon. Yeah, opponent's gonna double chump. Keep us from getting an invasion of Gabakon. Well, this is kind of fine though. This is kind of fine. So our opponent can Gix his command. We lose Loam Speaker and Fleetfoot Dancer. But then we pretty much know our opponent's hand, and we can blow up the wedding announcement and play Voja, and we still have a Glissa. I mean, they got to do it though, right? They can't not cast the Gix's command here, or else they're just so far behind. Opponent Gix's command. Yeah, let's blow up the wedding announcement. So we lose Fleetfoot and Loam Speaker. We still have Glissa. Well, it's definitely Voja time. Flip the Gabakon. Oh, I'm so dumb. Okay. Well, we gotta flip Gabakon. That was kind of bad. We could have attacked our opponent and then removed the counters to flip Gabakon. But I mean, we got Voja, but that was a punt. I mean, the big news is though, Voja down. Our opponent can like get rid of the, they're not gonna, interesting. I was thinking they were just gonna run out their Wandering Emperor to get rid of the Glissa, but they're gonna wait. The problem with waiting is, well, I guess they can do it. They can do it now still. Well, get it with Voja, get a trigger. If they Wandering Emperor, I think we just Werefox. Yeah, there's a Wandering Emperor. I imagine they try to exile Glissa just to reduce the number of elves. Yeah, we're gonna do it. I mean, we have another layer of protection with the flip Gabakon. So run out the Werefox. Exile the Glissa, get another elf down, make a treasure. So we get what? We get to draw 1 and put 2 counters on everything? Ooh, and a Fleetfoot Dancer. All right, opponent's down to 12. An opponent, they basically need Sunfall or Farewell. It's gotta be an Exile Wrath, and it's gotta be right now, or I'm pretty sure we kill them with this Fleetfoot Dancer. And the Voja opponent makes it 2/2. Are they, they're just cracking. All right, map away, friend. It's a land. Yeah, the maps are not going to do it here. And I mean, that's the power of Voja. It's really, some games it's one Voja attack does it, usually two. For sure. And the nice thing about it is, even if you just get in that one attack, the counters stick around. The card advantage sticks around. Like, it's already done its damage. So you really just need one or two attacks. And Voja is so good. Let's play Loam Speaker counterably. We didn't really have to pay life there, but it really doesn't matter. We're just about to win. So make a tap treasure token. Opponent does not try to counter anything. Well, now we'll play Uncounterable Fleetfoot Dancer. And now this is a real Voja. This is a Voja with 4 elves. An opponent sees it coming and scoops it up, and, well, it looks like Voja can work in Standard. A little bit. Not always, but when it works, it's pretty sweet. Well, Voja, sweet. So what do we learn this week about 5-color Voja elves in Standard? And overall, we went 3 and 5 with the deck, so a 38% match win percentage, which isn't bad, but also isn't like great or anything. So I think overall, I'm still really impressed with the power of Voja. Like, that's the biggest takeaway. I felt like the issues with the deck weren't Voja not being good enough. Like, pretty much every time we played a Voja, we just won the game. Like, the card itself is ridiculously strong, easily strong enough to see play in Standard, in large part because that Ward 3 just makes it so hard to kill. It's not really hexproof, but Ward 3 is not that far away from hexproof. So Voja itself is really good. The biggest issue with the deck is elves in Standard are just kind of janky. Like, if we had a Llanowar elves in the format, or an elvish mystic, or even just some better, like, mid-rangey elves, just stronger elves in general, I think that this deck could actually be really, really good. So as it is, I think that Voja is a really strong card, supported by a not that powerful in Standard tribe. But remember, we're in this crazy 3-year Standard now, so Voja's gonna be hanging out for a while, and I would not be surprised at all if at some point in the next 3 years we get enough good elves to make a really legit Voja deck in Standard. This is also one of those pre-release promo cards that isn't an actual pack, so actually might be a bad thing if it's good. Like, Voja's already like 14-15 bucks, and pre-releases are over, so in theory there's no more copies of this in existence for the rest of time, or at least until Wizards eventually reprints it. So if this does ever break out in Standard, this card could get really expensive really fast. So I think Voja, really sweet card, really powerful card. Unfortunately, it's an elf card, and elves are green. Green isn't the best color in Standard, and the elves themselves are like okay, but not super great. But Voja's enough to let the deck get a lot of wins, and if we get more good elves in Standard, it could end up being a really, really powerful card. So anyway, that is 5-color Voja elves. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.